Rajasthan playing Mumbai. We were talking about playing in pink. It's not really worked out that much for Rajasthan playing in pink, but playing in blue for Mumbai, blue and gold. Well, gold as usual. And Polly, let's actually, Pommy, I really want to ask Polly this. Is there still a little bit of kinship? There's still a little bit of brotherhood you feel with the Mumbai team? Yeah, still a bit.
Yeah, there's been no connection with any other team. So of course you still connect with your Mumbai Indians, and you have a passion. And I was a player, I was a captain, I was a coach, I was involved. So you never let that die. So I hope they continue to go from strength to strength. And they also got a really good unit, haven't they? I mean, every year we look at their squad. And it's not really dictated to by conditions. Wherever they play, they produce good. They've got strength in so many of the right areas. The first 6 overs they can make you pay. They've got guys to whack at the back end. They've got international bowlers, and they've got plenty of different options. Whether it's a stopping surface, you can play the spinners plus the pollard. If it's got a bit of pace, you've got the ability, like we saw in the last game, where they can just run through teams. So they're a strong unit, and I'm sure they'll continue to do so. And I would think from the outset they would be too strong for Rajasthan tomorrow, but we'll have to wait and see. Because RPL brings on so many surprises.
Strange things have been happening this weekend. And the thing is that with Mumbai, and Pommy, you were talking about we talk a lot about the jumble thinking of teams. If you had to talk about the absolute opposite, 180 of jumble thinking, if you had to talk about one upon jumble thinking, that would be Mumbai, because we don't even need to look at the squad. They're not going to make any changes unless Rohit is fit, and then he comes in and Tiwari goes out, right? It's just really simple. You know what they're going to do, you know what they're going to play, and I think that is, I don't know if it's still underrated, then I guess people are just not watching as much cricket as we are, but that is just gold, right?
Yeah, and to go back to a side we were talking about, 2 minutes ago, Chennai Super Kings, what have they done in the past when they have been successful? They pick a side, and once they've picked their side, it hardly changes all the way through the tournament, because every single guy does decently, plays their part, knows what their part is, and delivers. And sometimes they'll go through a dip, then somebody else is doing well. With Mumbai, right from the word go, first game, who was it against? It was against the Chennai Super Kings. What happened? They didn't go so well, did they? They didn't win that one. It was Chennai who won that one. And we thought, Chennai started quickly. What's going to happen here? Mumbai, they changed one player, moved along. They can't. It's like they can't lose.
Rajasthan, of course, wants some of their guns to fire, right? Some of their big guns. Their guns are all over the place, right? They just, I don't get from where the pulpits that they're firing some of their guns from. Polly, I don't agree with some of the pulpits. The guns are placed strong.
Yeah, in many ways you think they are. I think Uttapa at the top of the order is actually not a bad call, because he can just go and play. He doesn't have to worry about the stress of what he's got to do.
But Stokes?
And then, I mean, I don't think he's.
Butler,
I mean, I think he's. I would actually go back to the captain at the top of the order.
Oh.
Steve Smith. I don't see his name there. Actually.
So now,
there he is, right at the top.
Right at the top.
I think I would go back to him, because he's the kind of guy who can pierce the infield. I don't think he's that inventive. Whereas Butler and Stokes, for me, in the middle, they've got the experience, they've got the explosive ability to just clear boundaries, and they can also be nice and calm. And they've done it in countless occasions for England in one-day internationals. I know Butler, as of late, has been thrust up the top of the order for England at times, but I still think they've got calm heads. They can reverse sweep, they can paddle, they can play all those games. And I think Steve Smith, if he gets up front, he can knock a few through the infield, pick up some boundaries, and then go from there. So that would be my call. But I suppose you don't know the gist of what goes on inside that squad. But they do need the big players to step up. I mean, in South Africa, we get mates of ours, how come David Miller can't get a game after all their performance? How come he can't get a game? I mean, he had played one game, he got run out without facing the ball, so it hasn't been a great IPL for him. But I mean, maybe it's going to get to a stage where if Steve doesn't perform, maybe you have to start looking at David Miller to have a go. I mean, he's got that hit ability, and he would be a middle of the innings person.
Yeah, well, I mean, none of the England players are playing in position. Morgan's not playing at 4. Stokes is not playing at 5. None of them are playing in position for their team. They've all come here and are trying to experiment, aren't they, Pommy? Are you a fan of this Stokes on opening experiment?
Yeah, so I don't mind it actually. When they put him up at the top there, my thinking, and for some you might look and say it's unfair to others because they can play the role. My thinking is that it would be more difficult to sort of poke around at the back end in the middle of an innings with pitches having got slower. So with everyone up in the circle and him not having played for some time, having joined them late, but them looking at the package and thinking, hey, we want what he's got, right? We want the package that he brings. He can go up front and he can play some shots and he'll pierce the infield. He'll get the ball over the top. But as has been proven, that's not so simple. It's not simple for the guys who are openers. It's not been simple for Stokes himself. And I think they're sitting faced with a decision. Well, what do we do? Because if they just look at performance after performance after performance, they sit there and they go, well, that's kind of not what we expected. Then they must go, can we get it from somebody else? Or has the lack of form, the unsuccessful performances that have come to this point, have they equipped him enough with the knowledge of what he must do to be successful from here on? Because now are the crunch games and you want your crunch players, right? And he would be one of those. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really tough decision to come to when it comes to the players that are the big guys within the franchise.